When was the last time you took a leap of faith, trusting that everything is going to work out? Do you crave growth, or are you merely content with the status quo? If you want more out of your life, out of your career, and out of your relationships, you are in the right place. Take the leap and discover how to create a life by design rather than living it by default. Real success starts with you. Now here's your host, Colleen Biggs.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Take the Leap. I am your host, Colleen Biggs, and boy, there has been some crazy sickness going around lately, and between my grandkids getting sick and my friends telling me they're sick and my clients getting sick and people have been canceling on the podcast. So I have to say it is going around pretty crazy lately. So please take care of yourself. And today couldn't have been a better time to be talking about our well-being and our mental health. Like, how do we preserve that with everything that we have going on, especially as women and all the capes we wear and the identities that we have? How are we preserving our well-being and still really producing and doing the things that we love to do? Because everybody who knows me, I'm a producer. I do not like to slow down. So God's got to knock me on my butt, just like he did the last few days, and say, no, you're just going to lay here and rest and you're going to get better. And then you can get back up and go do your thing. So I'm happy and blessed all the time when that happens because it's a sign that I need to rest. So I have gotten my rest. I have put my cape back on. I am here today with Cheri Sotelo, and we are going to talk all about well-being and mental health. But before we do that, I do want to thank our sponsor of today's show, Beyond Basil Mobile Pizzeria. We are passionate about bringing the authentic flavors of Italy right to your event. Our mobile pizzeria is a culinary adventure on wheels where we craft artisanal pizzas using the finest ingredients and traditional Neapolitan techniques. Whether you're craving a classic margarita or looking to experience one of our unique flavor combinations, our skilled pizziolas are here to create mouth-watering pizzas that will tantalize your taste buds. With our commitment to quality and exceptional service, we aim to provide an unforgettable dining experience for every one of our guests. Every one of your guests, Explore our menu, book us for your next event, or follow us on Instagram at Beyond Basil Pizza. Get ready to embark on a pizza journey like no other with Beyond Basil Mobile Pizzeria. You can view the menu and contact us at beyondbasilmobilepizzeria.com. Apparently being sick means you get tongue-tied. I'm not sure what's happening there. Getting through that brain fog. So let's talk about Cheri Sotelo. She speaks with a passion for mental health, nutrition, and medical illness rights, advocacy, and treatment on an international level. With over 20 years of experience, she's been a dedicated advocate for vulnerable populations, providing support, guidance, and empowerment. She's held licenses in the fields of mental health, addictions, dual diagnosis, and clinical supervision. She sat as the family representative for the state of Nevada Emergency Medical Services for Children, as well as the mental health representative for the Child Death Review Team in Nevada. As a combat trauma specialist, starting with OIF and OEF homeless veterans, Cheri proudly continues to provide trauma therapy services for military veterans and their families. Hi, Cheri. Welcome so much to the show.
Thank you, Colleen. So glad to be here.
So great to have you. And what a time to be talking about mental health, nutrition, medical illness rights, right? There's so much with the pandemic and COVID and rights and, mental health especially is on the rise, with the conversations around mental health. So what are you finding is going on as the trends today? Around, where you're being kind of moved to have conversations?
Well, actually, with yesterday, October 10th, being World Mental Health Day, it was one way to highlight the fact that here is a scary statistic, but that we all need to understand that suicide is the number 2 cause of death worldwide. The World Health Organization has already indicated that by 2030, just a handful of years from now, that mental health is going to be the number 1 cause of death. And that's a scary, scary fact. As we come through especially with the United Nations doing so much in the sustainability and development and global impact work. They're understanding more and more that mental health has to come to the forefront, not just under the 17 items that they're talking about, but under that number 3, that health and wellness, really tapping into what does mental health mean? How does that implicate on economies? How does that affect profitability and productivity? How does it affect actually the legacy that's going to be left here well beyond our years of being on this planet?
Yeah.
That is the effect that's coming to my door left and right. And as an international advocate and a human rights consultant, I am being called to constantly get input and give input about what can we do next? What can we do to help these war-torn times? What can we do about the nutrition and prenatal care so that we're not creating this bubble effect of in utero problems that is going to sustain and require care for the rest of somebody else's life? Because that does have that impact on the business and the economy. And sometimes that's the way it has to be phrased to grab the attention of the right policymakers and indicate a type of change that needs to happen quicker and faster and more efficient than we've ever had before. So the pandemic really opened up that way to say, hey, mental health suffers quickly. It's not just we're going to get through these physical things. It really takes us down all the way around. We feel bad about ourselves. I mean, you just came out from Las Vegas from a convention and coming through and saying, oh no, I feel like I'm going to get behind because I haven't been feeling well. But I needed to take care of my body so that my brain can catch up. And at the same time, let me not beat myself up because my body's beating me up already.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where wellness really takes a whole wrap around, and mental health is a big component, but just one of many components in this 8 dimensions of wellness that I work right in the middle of.
Yeah. Yeah. It is one of those things where I have to say, just personally, I take very good care of my health. I take supplements. I, drink certain shakes every day. I take care of my health, my fitness. I really watch, even traveling a lot these days. And then, it seems like little children are little petri dishes of just everything. And when you get around them, I know a lot of my kids get sick because my grandkids get them sick. And then, when I'm around them and then they get me sick, we do everything we can, but we also have to understand that every once in a while we are going to get sick, right? Things are going to knock us down. And just know that we have to step back. The sky is not going to fall. And I just kept reminding myself of that. I know it's so sad to say, and I'm glad we're having this conversation, but I kept reminding myself that I have to take care of myself to be able to show up toward the end of this week. I have clients coming in town, and I have to show up because that's been a plan. Now, even if I had to cancel that, say something, really went wrong and I had to cancel that, I could, but I really want to show up when I need to show up. So how do you take that time and just let your body relax? And I think we all know like what we're supposed to do. Cheri, that doesn't mean that we do it. We all know what we're supposed to do, but we don't do it. And like I started the show, boy, there's been a lot of cancellations on my schedule with people that were scheduled to talk with me because they've been sick. Or on the podcast. So I think that's important for us to remember that I would rather someone cancel because they're not feeling good and reschedule than show up severely sick, and not really be able to get through a conversation that we're going to have or really show up. Does that make sense? How are you finding
completely makes sense.
Yeah. Talk us through what are some of the preventions for mental health? What would you say?
I think the big thing, and it's how I actually opened the conversation before we went live, is, are you sure you don't want to reschedule? This was me looking out for you. But here is where, as adults, we come into our biggest problem, our expectation to perform. Expectations. That is always going to be that catalyst of where our mental health stands. If we're expecting ourselves to push through, if we're expecting ourselves to finish out a project, if we're even expecting someone to react a certain way, we can't know how someone's going to react if we can't do the thing that we do. just because we ourselves are let down internally, comes from sometimes a self-esteem base, sometimes from just a high achieving base. That's really where we can stop and say, all right, do I need to go through, and keep this phrase, please, close in hand, self-preservation over self-deprivation. Because if you do not preserve yourself, you will deprive yourself in so many different arenas. And that's what people don't understand. That we almost sit, for those of us that are old enough that remember the seesaws, I'm sure those things are taken off of playgrounds because just the physical danger that it poses. But that's how we grew up, on this seesaw. We never found that sitting in the middle was fun because it didn't go anywhere. That's where it was all balanced. No, we want to do one thing on one side and one thing on the other side. How much weight do we think we can throw around on ourselves? How much of our weight can we throw around? And are we going to get this somehow mental fix of accomplishment? Okay, great. Well, we've seen that hurts in some way or another, because I don't know about you, but I remember being on one side all the way up, and then that person on the other side gets off. Maybe that's me offloading a project, and bam, my rear end hits that ground. Yeah. That was my mental health warning of, don't expect this to not hurt if all of a sudden you just let go of everything, or you take on too much that made you rise to the top. Eventually, it all comes back down.
So true. So true.
Attending to your expectations first and becoming more realistic about what can I do? We're just a body. Yeah. We're just human beings. We have this set of mechanics that works with us or works against us and lets us know hey, you have to stop. Your mind may want to go and your body's like, absolutely not. We are not going there. We don't have to fit it all in the fear of losing it.
I love that. You don't have to fit it all in the fear of losing it. And I talk, a lot about teams and having people working with you and things still being able to run, and I'm so thankful that I had teams of people that were able to still host happy hours, still run online masterminds, were able to cancel my calls. I had a team of people that could help me still keep things running. And I think we neglect to lean on them more and think, well, I have to do it. Right. And then that's where that pressure comes in. And then that high achievement thought of the burden that we put on ourselves to achieve more and show up even greater and greater than we did before. And the thought of not being able to produce in that way. I'm one of those individuals. I'll share that. I'm a very high achiever. And so taking care of my well-being, I really do pay attention to that. And I make sure that I take Sundays off when I can. And that's like sacred. It's rare that I'll work a Sunday unless I'm flying home from a mastermind or a conference or something like that. But I preserve those for my day off to unplug. I preserve Saturdays to really, do a lot of things with my grandkids. And so I'm listening to what you're saying. What are some tips for the women and men listening on our well-being and mental health, on how we put that as a priority in the forefront?
Remembering that you have to make every minute count. Once this minute passes, it doesn't come back. So taking ourselves to our place of rest at night, whether it's a bed, whether it's a recliner, somewhere where we're going to decompress. Decompression is going to be an absolute must for mental well-being, physical well-being, emotional well-being on your job, because it'll help you get through to the next day, and go through a little series of questions. It's not very difficult. There's no test. Don't worry. You're not going to fail this. And remind yourself, what did I do well today? What did I do not so well, or didn't come out the way that I would have liked, not expected, but liked? And what's on my task list for tomorrow? Because I obviously can't get it done today. The minutes are passing and there's not enough time. So that when you lay your head and go to sleep at night, you can wake up fresh with everything that's closed off from the day before. And with this whole opportunity to say, okay, here I am. I'm showing up. I'm
glad you said that.
Yeah. It's a small little thing that we can give ourselves, to give ourselves that grace
Yeah.
to shut it all down. We did the best we could every single day with all the resources that we had. And no matter what, we're not going to get back yesterday. So, hey,
Yeah.
let's live for tomorrow.
I love that so much. I'm one of those people that sleep really good at night. And when I'm done for the evening, it's like I just shut it off and say there's just not much more I can do tonight. So it's time to rest. And I know how bad my body needs to sleep to be able to produce at the high level that I produce daily. So that is my drive to sleep at night and to rest. And I'm one of those people that I lay my head down and then I sleep and then I wake up in the morning, have at least 8 hours of rest. And I think that's super important. When we are running on less than that, we tend to build up this lag and I think we tend to get in a bad mood. We get maybe depressed or anxious because our body isn't operating fully at capacity that it needs to because it's not resting and recharging. And I see this a lot in my husband where his mind will just go, 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 go. And then he'll sleep for a few hours and get up in the middle of the night thinking he's got to work more, and then sleep for a few hours. And then he eventually just wears out. And it's just not healthy.
Right. And that, as a licensed clinician, you're going to hear this from that professional side. Colleen, you are absolutely doing everything that is necessary for the body to go through cellular regeneration overnight. If we go to sleep with all of these thoughts on our head, the rise of anxiety occurs. Like you said, you've been able to point this out very, very clearly, and you see how disruptive it can be. But simply by taking that task of decompression, even if it means having on the side of your bed a small little notebook with a pencil, not on our phones because the light from the phones will actually wake the brain back up. Write down those task lists. If that wakes you up in the middle of the night because it's still there, pluck it out of your head. Anything that's up there is there because you allow it to be up there. You have all the choice in the world, and you're such a successful individual and entrepreneur, and I rave about how you've brought people through in so many ways. You see this all the time, how people just do not shut it down. We have to shut it down, folks, no matter what, or we will suffer. Somewhere's going to suffer.
And I need assistance on that, meaning that I know that I need a certain amount of time at night to decompress, and I love to cook. So that's what helps me. And I also run rainstorms in my room at night. I have a diffuser. So I travel with these. And most people think I'm crazy, but I travel with an oil diffuser and I travel with a sound machine. You do too? Yeah.
Yes.
And then that way my environment, no matter where I am, always feels the same, very relaxing, it really, really, really helps me. And I think we're giving some tips here today on some important things to be keeping that well-being and mental health strong, because mental health is, how is your mental capacity of how you're thinking? How do you feel about how you feel about yourself, right? Because suicide rates, like you said, are increasing. It's going to be the number one way that humans are dying. And let me tell you, it's in the tens and thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of humans that die every year from things like cancer or, so many other diseases that are out there that, heart attacks and you name it. And to think that someone taking their life would exceed that. That's a scary world to live in. And that's telling me that so many individuals are starving for this connection and this belief from others, and not, necessarily, even as being a parent, pushing your child to say, you can do better, you can do better, you can do better. I'm not going to talk to you until you get an A, or, and just pushing them to get into certain colleges that you want them to get into, and kind of this expectation that we set on other people. That's the pressure that negatively impacts their mental health. So as a society, what do you see that shift needs to be? Not just how we treat ourselves, but isn't it important on how we're treating others?
Absolutely. And the one good thing that did come out of having a pandemic worldwide is that mental health became a table conversation.
Mm.
No more tabled conversation, no more hidden conversation. I know it sounds so trendy. I can walk by a cafe and hear, "Oh my goodness, I was telling my therapist about this, and oh, my therapist said this." So now that we've lessened the stigma and opened up the platform to say, "Hey, my needs count, my needs matter." It is actually the easiest way to get a hold of your own mental health and your mental well-being. I can't believe, 10 years ago, I was part of the forum that was trying to do telehealth and get it legalized because it wasn't something that we were allowed to do. And now it's like, that's just the way to go.
It
Um,
is.
when we don't address certain things, especially from parent to child, it has the absolute most pinnacle placement in self-esteem development for that person as they are an adult. And with our generation, the Generation X referrals and social media is so hilarious nowadays. But it is that generation that I see most often. And what am I doing? 15 to 20 sessions a week minimum? Self-esteem building. Why? Because we did not get that training. Parents couldn't have known. Parents were just a couple of offsets from the Depression era where it was, you go to work, you do this, you get married, you have kids, you stay there, and that's it. Whether you like each other or not, we saw this in the media, 2 twin beds, separate. You just stick it out, kid. So we got a lot of that. We didn't get the, "Hey, how you doing? Hey, I'm sorry you're not happy about maybe that B and you really wanted an A. It's all right, kiddo. Dust yourself off and turn your back around and set you off on your way." Why? Because I know you can do it. And guess what? Even if you think you can't, just turn around and you'll still see me here waiting. I'll be here. Don't worry. That's all we needed. And so if we can open up the forum to do that for the children nowadays and for the young adults nowadays, it'll make a difference in these suicide or suicidal tendencies, which is an avenue we don't like to talk about very often. But that biggest factor comes in because they don't feel supported. They don't feel like they're going to be heard. They feel like they have to minimize all of their struggles because who's going to be there to listen? Well, I'm here. I'm on a platform with 29,000 other therapists, and we're still short-staffed, to provide services worldwide to 7 million people. I mean, there's so much need, but we can, even as lay people, we can just turn around and ask each other, "How are you doing?" And actually listen to the answer. Not offer opinions, not offer some solution, just listen. That's what our mental health needs. I think that's what everybody's mental health needs. Silent support.
Yeah.
If you think you have nowhere to go, you can always turn. And there should be someone. But we have to create that culture. We have to continue creating that culture.
Well, how do people turn to you, Cheri? So we have a lot of connections here at their fingertips for them to reach for. We have the psychseries.com. You want to talk about, the best place to connect with you for them to have a conversation?
Well, I'm also available on LinkedIn. Simply search my name, Cheri Sotelo, Cheri, S as in Sam, Otelo. And that will also guide you directly to my website, which is thepsychseries.com. For those that also suffer with medical illness or comorbid conditions, I'm the owner of The Face of Illness. And so you can reach me at thefaceofillness.com. Both of these also have Instagram sites where I'm on constantly with DMs. Please absolutely reach out. If you want to schedule something, a 30-minute talk, consultation in any arena of wellness, whether it's your mental health, whether it's your physical health, whether it's career guidance, intellectual component and learning, financial, business development, professional development. I span across all areas, including internationally as an international advocate. So please absolutely reach out.
Thank you for sharing that. And if anyone right now feels it on their heart, like I really need to reach out to someone, please reach out to Cheri. Her 30-minute consultation link is below. Please go to her website. Please connect with her on any of Instagram or LinkedIn, or go to her website and schedule a call with her. Please, please, please reach out. We together need to bring people together so that you don't feel alone, and there is help for you out there, and you're not alone. Trust me. Cheri just said it's tens and thousands and hundreds of thousands of individuals that are suffering with this, and you're not alone. So if, this is your chance to reach out to them. And I wanted to, also mention that Cheri's going to be one of our main stage speakers at our November 17th Empower and Elevate Women's Conference here in Phoenix, Arizona. And I'm very excited for her to be there because, these are very high achieving women in the room, and they need to hear this message more than they even know. They need to hear this message on well-being and mental health and how to take care of themselves. So Cheri, thank you so much for being with us today. It was just an amazing pleasure to have you on the podcast today. So thank you
so much, Colleen. I appreciate you. And I appreciate you pushing through, even though you're not always 100% when you're sick, but you do show at 1,000%. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. And I did take time down for myself. I will tell you, I know when I needed it, and I got an IV last night, and because I wanted to be able to be 100% today, and I'm not 100%, and that's okay. I can't be 100% today. I'm just, my battery isn't fully recharged yet. And I will be by the end of the week. So I'm just not going to put any more pressure on myself. Right. So it just is what it is, but
Absolutely.
I'm pushing forward, and I'm showing up the best I can, the best version of myself. And I'm going to encourage all of you, you're the only you that's ever been. You're the only you that will ever be. How are you going to recharge, and how are you going to set your mental health in a positive way? How are you going to give yourself grace to say, today's not a good day for me. I need to take some time off. How are you going to set up a vacation because you need time away, or set play in your day because you just need to have some fun? I've done wild things like booked movie tickets and went in the middle of the day and watched a movie because I needed some time away. I'm going to encourage each one of you to do this for yourself. But I'm also going to encourage you to reach out to Cheri. Her email is below. You can schedule a call with her. She's absolutely phenomenal in what she does. And if you feel like you need a little more assistance, maybe in the well-being and mental health or positivity, please be sure to reach out to her. And thanks again, Cheri, for being on today's show. Thank you to our sponsor, Beyond Basil Mobile Pizzeria. And for all of you for being amazing listeners and so loyal, we thank you so much. And until next time, be you and be strong. Bye-bye for now.
We hope you enjoyed our show today, as our guests shared their secrets on designing their life by taking the necessary leaps to expand their influence and attract the right people and clients into their lives. To start these easy steps for yourself, be sure to visit www.colleenbiggs.net/freebies to download the 7 ways to increase your exposure today.